this, and this, as the title says, is ROH. The Sky is Not Falling, the sequel. Why it's the sequel? Because I've had to do a video like this before, so I just thought I would come on here, explain what's been going on over the last, at least in my view, what I've understood, what I've read, and how I interpreted what I have read and heard, and that sort of thing. What's going on with ROH? Of course, everybody knows that Gabe, I'm not going to try to pronounce his last name, is gone as Booker, which surprised a lot of people. And he was replaced, amazingly, by Adam Pearce. Now, that freaked a lot of people out, because Dave Metzler, for one, came on and said, well, that means that they're going to do more of a 70s style booking. You know, I would kind of have to disagree. We're going to have to definitely wait until we see the next shows, exactly what's going to take place. But I would think we'd probably see matches more along the line of what we saw between himself, Adam Pearce, and Brent Albright at Death Before Dishonor. And if you have not seen that match, I would recommend checking it out, because believe it or not, they had the best match on the card, and I don't mean that in that the rest of the card sucked either. I mean, they put on a kick-ass match to the point that I'm like, am I watching the Brent Albright match? It worked very well. They told a very good story. They got the crowd behind them. I would imagine that's probably more of where they're going. That, or any of you have actually seen the NWA showcases that were on Colors, you would know what I'm talking about as well. I would imagine that's what we're going to see. More definite face versus heel. Very kind of old school storyline booking. But then you're going to let the guys go in there and wrestle a little bit more of an up-to-date style. The only problem with the NWA show was that you probably weren't seeing guys that people wanted to see necessarily. You weren't seeing guys that at least had a little bit of buzz, at least a little internet buzz, with a few exceptions, and there probably wasn't enough of that to really capture the internet's attention to an extent. I cannot see them going to what a lot of people seem to be worried about, to a pure entertainment type show. I think they're just going to add some more storylines, add some more stuff they haven't before, though I wonder how much you can do that, because given ROH's format, the fact of the matter is, people have said they've done this to better get on television. You're still not on television, and you're still going to be doing 4 shows a month, maybe, you know, at the most they do 4 shows a month. Well, that's not true, but usually you can figure about 4 shows a month. You know, it's hard to, and not everyone buys every DVD. So, of course, you know, I guess if you, storyline-wise, if you made it so that people had to buy the DVDs because of the storyline, I guess that would help the DVDs in that way. But, you know, I still don't see people buying every DVD. So, it's going to be hard to keep, you know, to really have kind of complex storylines. If you keep it simple, like I said, the NWA show had very simple storylines, very easy to follow, which made sense and did add a lot to the matches, by the way. They really did. But I think if we see that, I think most of the Ring of Honor fans would be happy to see. And, you know, people were freaking out that we're going to see a different type of thing, though, you know, they still announced the next day that they were bringing in Samoa Joe for the Chicago show. They just announced today they're bringing in two major Japanese guys, and that's my other point, because people seem to be running around with their heads cut off going, oh, you know, Ring of Honor must be running out of money. If that was the case, why would you bring in these guys? Why would you be bringing in LAX? Especially bringing in LAX in 2 markets that you know are 2 of your weakest markets, which they did. Those are 2 of their weakest markets. People can say, well, they brought them in to, you know, try to pump up those markets. You know, if that was your business move, I don't think that's a good business move. I think you bring them into a market which, you know, isn't a weak market, you know, and which you're actually going to, because those guys didn't come cheap. You know that those guys didn't come cheap from TNA. Same thing with Joe. Joe, you know, Joe did not come, you know, is not going to come cheap. The guys from Japan are not going to come cheap. Now, people have said that those were deals that were already done, but, you know, you can always back out of a deal. You know, it might hurt your reputation in some degrees, but you can always back out of a deal if you don't have the money for the deal. So I think the whole, you know, they're going bankrupt mentality is a little far-fetched. They're probably not doing good business, but, you know, who right now is doing good business anywhere. I mean, that would be sort of my point, as far, especially when you're talking about money-wise. You know, and next year things are probably going to be a lot different too. I would suspect. I'm going to go into all that, but I would expect that, a lot of these guys are probably not going to be doing well financially, particularly the guys running the shows. The money guys are probably still not going to have a lot of money to be putting into these shows. So, as far as indie wrestling, that's probably that's another rant for another time. But, what was that? Okay, money. So I would say that the money thing is probably there without a doubt, and I would say that probably what you're going to see, and they've already talked about this, is, or it's already been rumored, they're going to cut some of the fat, which means some of the lower level guys are probably going to get cut, which is probably good. You don't, how many guys do you need for a show? 15, 20 guys, and if they're going to start doing 8-match shows, that's probably what you need, somewhere between 15 and 20 guys a show, and you don't need all those guys showing up all the time. So that makes a little bit more sense. You don't need 30 guys showing up for an indie show, basically, or for a non-televised show. So there's probably that aspect of it. Though, and I've also heard, if you kind of read some of the stuff that Ring of Honor is coming out, they've also kind of talked about the fact of doing more video wires, putting more stuff on YouTube. That's something I know all the people on YouTube have been griping and complaining about, is that they're not using YouTube to their fullest extent. Hopefully that's going to change. They already stuck up a Rhett Titus video, which is pretty hilariously just crazy. Wow, did I just see that kind of video? That they stuck up today. And I would think we're probably going to see more along that way. And if you read the news wires that have come out probably this week, there's definitely more of an entertainment edge to it. There's definitely more of, instead of pushing the matches, they're pushing the storylines to sell the matches, which to more of an extent than they ever have. So I would say that as well. So I would say the product's probably not going to change that much as far as the in-ring product, except maybe they're going to slow it down. It's not going to be so spot happy as it has been, which, though I've never really complained about it, because to me it's not as spot happy as TNA is. It's still spot happy, and everybody kind of knows that. So they're probably going to slow that down a little bit. That I don't mind. That I don't mind at all. I don't think most people do. I think most people understand that. That that's not a type of wrestling that is going to get a lot of people in. Most of the fans, or most of the people I know who I've shown Ring of Honor really like it, but I have had a few people who've watched it and just have been, my God, how can you keep watching this? There's so much going on. I feel wore out watching it. It's very rare, at least in my little circle of wrestling friends, but most of my wrestling friends like the same type of wrestling I do. So, and we were also brought up, and this is one of the things that I think is that if you have a bunch of fans who are brought up on best of tapes, they're not used to the slow build, and that's one thing Ring of Honor seldom really did really well, was the slow build. Sometimes you would get just amazing match in the middle of the card, and nothing on the rest of the card could really match it. And then people would complain, and myself included, that you didn't main event you didn't put the titles in the main event because you had this match which was going to steal the show, and they would put that, and I would complain about that too. But hey, what are you going to do about that? But anyways, I think people need to keep a lot of this stuff in perspective. We're not going to know anything really probably until after the next set of shows. When we see those, we start hearing the live crowd from there. Then we'll know. I would hope that the fans would just abandon shit because Gabe wasn't there, because by all accounts they're not changing that much. I haven't seen any great radical changes yet, and there's lots of rumors going around that a lot of this was for TV. I still wonder why they got rid of Gabe, though. The more that keeps coming out, the more I kind of understand. Apparently he wasn't good at booking with other people, because I was like, why wouldn't you just bring in Pierce and have both of them book? Because to me that would be better. But apparently Gabe might not have been the best guy working with other people. Not that that's necessarily a bad thing. There's a lot of people like that. They just work better by themselves. That Gary decided that it was better to bring in just Adam to work by himself. Though I would hope if things go well, Adam does bring in somebody else, because like I said before, I think it's better to have at least 2 people that you can run ideas off of, back and forth. And I think your ideas are usually better that way. Let's see, other than that, I guess that's it. I just come on here and just wanted to talk about this, and you know, people are going crazy. I've read on the boards, there's just like, you know, the sky is not falling, we're getting pelted by, you know, acid rain. And meteorites all at the same time. But you know, just, you know, kind of a wait and see type of thing. I know a lot of people come on, oh, you're just coming on here and you're you know, you're still being the Ring of Honor diehard. I would say this about any company. You know, if you're going to do a change like this, you have to wait and see, because definitely I don't think we're going to see this 90-degree complete opposite turn of what we've been seeing. I think we're just going to see more storylines, probably slow down the guys a little bit more, and have somebody, because one thing that has come out over probably the last year and a half was that Gabe didn't really have a big control over what the guys did in the ring. I would imagine Adam is going to demand a little bit more control over what guys have in the ring. And I would also hope that one thing Adam has definitely got to be better than is when they put on the tournaments. You know, I've talked about this before. I think a lot of other people have talked about this before. If Gabe had one big, huge flaw in Ring of Honor, it was the freaking tournaments. You know, I was talking to everybody last night, a bunch of people last night, and we were talking about the tournaments and trying to find out, you know, trying to think of tournaments we thought were good. And with the exception of Eye of the Storm, which was, you know, I mean, I think more of Gabe showing that he was good at booking on the fly. You really, you know, Ring of Honor does not have a great history of booking tournaments, and I think that is a big flaw in Ring of Honor. You know, you look at Pro Wrestling Guerrilla, you know, and every other indie, where do they make their money? They make their money off of their tournaments, and so I think in a lot of ways, Ring of Honor has really missed the boat on that, and I think that's one thing that if they're truly in some sort of, you know, if it's everything's slowing down and they're gonna need to, the DVDs are gonna need to sell more, I really think putting on some more really good tournaments, really important tournaments, tournaments that people go, wow, that looks really good, on the same level as Bola, on the same level as the Ted Petty tournaments, probably not to their massive scale, especially the Ted Petty tournament, maybe, you know, doing something like Bola, or even DDT, DDT2, all of that would kind of, you know, I think would be better. And if that would be the one thing I would say that I think really would, if Adam can do better with that, with just adding a few little wrinkles to the product to make it where, you know, people want to see it more, and if they do, like, supposedly it looks like they might be doing, using YouTube a little bit more and actually using this medium to the degree that it should have been used for probably since day one, and they haven't done it. I think, you know, I think that says a lot. And you know, if guys like me, if guys like, you know, even Bill and Doug, if any of the guys that can come on here and our partners and talk for, you know, and we can go for as long as we want, and Ring of Honor is still only going 10 minutes. It's kind of like, what are you doing? But, hey, you know, what you gonna do? But, so, that's just what I wanted to come on here and say. Kind of wait and see where it goes. I'm sure we're gonna find out more. You know, in the last 2 days, we found out more than we knew, you know, Sunday. And I would imagine by the end of the week, we'll probably even know more of what's going on. But, just, like I said, you know, and when people bring up the financial things, there probably are, you know, they're probably not doing the business they want to do. I'm not doubting that, but business can't be totally too bad if they're still bringing in, you know, top guys from Japan. If there's still, you know, if a lot of this stuff's going on and they're not slashing dates. I know a lot of people point to the Florida shows, but you know, no one was doing good in Florida, and apparently there was like no, they weren't doing any type of business in Florida similar to what they did when they went on the West Coast. So they just gutted the deal. And if that's the case, then that's the case, and that's a good deal, because they don't need to do shows like that. But you know, because we saw what happened when that happened last year, is it hurt the company for probably a good 4 months. So there we go. I'm out. That's all I wanted to say. So later, and be good.